You know, when you walk into the room and you see once again your child's jacket thrown on the floor, right beside the hook, no less. And then you look over and you see your child lying on the couch watching TV again. I'll use my daughter's name, Priyana, in this example. So picture this: you take a big, frustrated breath and say, "Can you please hang your jacket up?" No response, of course. So you say it again. "Can you please hang your jacket up?" Nothing. And then here it comes. "Seriously, Priyana? I can't believe I have to tell you this 1,000 times. Get up and hang your jacket up or you lose TV for the next week." Now, by now you're exhausted and they look at you with frustration and anger and resentment. And they may at that point go and hang it up because you threaten them. But here's the reality: that is not a way to live our lives. So let's back up just a little bit to the first time we would have asked them the same question, the first time ever. I'm sure you don't remember this, but I'm just going to play out likely what might have happened or what often happens. So again, they walked in, threw their jacket on the floor, and sat down on the couch. Now you see this happen and you get annoyed inside. The voice inside your head is saying, "Oh, what is with this child? Do they think I'm their servant? Oh my goodness, they're going to turn into complete slobs." And now, with an even more annoyed voice, you try to calmly say, "Priyana, why would you drop your jacket on the floor like that? There's a hook right there. You should have just put it on the hook." Their response, again, nothing. Why? This time it's a little different. This time it is often because they feel shamed. Why? Because, in our minds, we weren't asking for anything unreasonable, and yet there was a tone. I understand that we're frustrated and that those tones sort of come out of us. And I also just want to point out, unfortunately, those tones have an impact, and that impact is shame. So now I want you to fast forward many days of doing this over and over and over again, and nothing changes, right? The shame is setting in. So the question we have as parents is, how is this possible? I have literally asked them to do the same thing 1,000 times. Is my child like unable to learn? Are they stupid or something? Are they just being defiant, trying to disrespect me? I mean, sure, some part of them just doesn't really care as much as we do about hanging up a jacket. But honestly, this seems ridiculous. We've told them thousands of times. So what happened? Well, when we look at the first time we asked, remember the tone I mentioned and the comment, you should have put hung up your jacket. So when we say things like "you should have" with a tone like, "Oh, you should have done this, you should have done this, you should have done that," right? "Priyana, you should have hung up your jacket. Um, Priyana, you should have hung up your jacket. Priyana, you should have hung up your jacket." All of these types of tones, same words, if you notice, result in things like fear or guilt or shame. And all of these responses result in a shutdown, right? So the brain starts to shut down. So learning also shuts down. So think about that. When we're yelling, we're creating fear. Brain wants to shut down because it's in fight, flight mode, right? So either they're going to withdraw from you, run away, or they're going to like completely shut down. So that's one response. Guilting, it makes us feel really, really yucky. Brain also starts shutting down. Shaming, even worse, right? It leads to complete shutdown. So I want you to think about that. Shame from things like words like "should have," right, leads to shutdown. So our tones add a whole new layer to that. And so when we deliver requests, unfortunately, we get no response from them, because when they're feeling shamed, we can't learn. They can't learn. So we're basically putting them into, like I say, threat and shutdown mode. So, and I want to really emphasize, it's a space where learning cannot occur. So what do we end up doing? We keep repeating ourselves, not realizing that our words and our tones are having this impact on them and their brain. So we repeat ourselves every single day and we get more and more frustrated, and we truly wonder what's wrong with our child. Or we could take it personally, like they're disrespecting us on purpose. And then, of course, we get even more frustrated. And the next time we once again do the same thing, either yell at them or shame them or get some kind of guilt reaction out of them. And again, leads to shutting down their brain. So, what we want to be doing is recognizing, for those of us who have very young children where this sort of pattern has not yet occurred, I want you to start to become aware of your tones and the words, like you should have or why would you. These words are very sort of they stab at anyone, to be honest, and just start to become aware of them, and then kindly give yourself a break. Right? Most of us learn to speak this way with kids in general, but most of us heard it as kids ourselves, and so of course that's sort of the first go-to that comes to us when we start parenting. So the key there is to first become aware and then to shift it into seeing if we can, through breathing and calming our system down, come to teach them early on in this process what we want them to learn, right? So you could say something, like take a breath. So same thing, first time, coat's on the ground, and you're noticing them sitting on the couch. So instead, you could say, "Hey, Brianna, I know you're tired. Can you just jump up for a sec quick and put your jacket away?" And they may still resist. So you're gonna just kind of continue to repeat it, right? If they're still really resisting, maybe they're really, really tired and they just can't do it right in that moment because they've already sat down. So then you can just say, "Hey, you know what? You need to put your jacket away. So as soon as you're done watching that show, please put it away." Now you might need to remind them, and that's okay because this is still learning. It's not in their brain yet. So we want to be able to be okay with reminding them while they're in this learning state. Because once they learn, we're not going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. So we got to put a little bit of the effort in early so that we don't have to keep repeating this pattern again and again and again, like I said in the first example. You will be surprised. And again, maybe not in the first few days, but soon after, because their brain now is having the chance to fire those neurons together for learning. Now, if your child is older and we're already in the habit of being frustrated and annoyed and have had tones like I've described or deliveries that have been unhelpful, like guilting or shaming or yelling, so for fear, then remember, they've already kind of blocked us out, right? They don't like feeling shame, so they're just going to zone out as soon as you start talking. In this case, we need to have a separate conversation with the child at a time when we're having sort of a good time together, a bit more connected. And it's just a conversation. And what we need to do is we need to sort of put our ego away, take a breath again, and let them know how this sort of all happened, and that you're aware that it wasn't helpful how you've tried to teach them in the past, and that you are now trying to shift the way you are going to be telling them things. And then you're going to ask them to work with you, right? Work with you on this, sort of give you a break and work with you so that you can both make a change. I'll be realistic here. It will take longer for them to engage, of course, because they're not sure if they can trust that you're going to be consistent. But if you are consistent, then things will change. And I don't mean it has to be perfect every time. There's no such thing as perfect. It's really more awareness and making the changes when you realize it. And then the child does notice it. Remember, the child always wants to connect with a parent. This is not, it doesn't feel like that when they're teenagers. If the dynamics haven't been, really well connected, where they feel like they belong and all of that. I'm not going to get into all that now, but it will repair, right? Children love it when we role model owning things. It's such a good role modeling for them as well as human beings. So please, again, let's try to put the ego aside, soothe and comfort ourselves, and try and make these changes with them. And as always, I'm always going to emphasize that we cannot succeed at any of these changes if our own gas tank is depleted. So please focus on yourself first. Focus on your self-care, right? Fill your own gas tank up. Take time for yourself so that you can navigate these conversations and situations with greater ease, right? Then we'll be able to make the changes that we need, and we will finally have a calmer home, right? Which is, I think, what we would all love to have. but we've got to put the work in now, guys, so that we can make those changes. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't want to keep losing it with them every single day. So scenes like this are really, really common. Obviously, I only give you one example, but I'm sure you could picture other things in your mind. And I really know it can feel like nothing is going to work. And I promise you it can, with self-compassion, self-care, consistent small steps, and little micro communications with your children. And it can all be repaired and reset. So you don't have to live daily life just trying to get through to the end of the day, right? Trying to get to that finish line every day. That's exhausting. You can make the changes after you've done the self-care and replenishing. You can start making these changes and days will look better. Thanks so much.